So this is session 92 now. Does anyone remember what happened in session 91?
I know Clave wasn't a part of most of it.
Right. Dustin is usually the man of recaps.
Right. We were going to leave Clave. He got lucky. I sent him a message, I think, at one point.
Actually, I don't know that you ever did send him the message. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't remember because I was actually, when you suggested sending him a message, I was like, now I'm going to have to figure out like where in this whole sideline thing is he when he gets this message. And I don't remember having to resolve the issue of him getting a message in the middle of a storyline I already knew it about.
I messaged him in the morning. I said, we'll be here we were going to the embassy. That's what I meant. We're going to the embassy. And then that was it.
And I think Clay responded, be back soon or some shit like that.
Or he didn't respond
AFK.
at all. Right. Yeah. Red.
I can't wait for a game to come up where that an opportunity to do that comes up. Like a player puts sending out to like some major NPC or villain or whatever, and it just responds with a red.
Got it.
And then 3 times.
Feel like I'm missing the joke here.
I think like a read receipt you get back.
Red as in okay, gotcha.
Not the color.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking. What's the color red have to do with anything? I don't really know.
I'm glad all this is being recorded.
Okay, so you did send him a message, and then you went to the embassy.
Yeah. We talked. You
agreed to give up the mummy.
Yeah. Well, did I though? Did I actually? Because I feel like
yes, you did. Yes, the mummy is gone.
So you were.
There was a moment. There was a moment though,
uncertain.
and then I judged them.
Right, and you judged that she didn't really care about the mummy, so she probably would just bury it in like a local graveyard. But you got the ambassador to promise that he would see to it that the mummy was taken care of, and then you tried to incite him. You did not roll very high, and you got the sense that he was telling the truth. So you agreed to give up the mummy. One of the long time companions
right
of this party.
He's been with us for so long. He waited for us outside that fucking enormous fucking black hole.
And then you started talking about the Cirrus, and Sorteakon was very certain that you guys were behind her death.
Yeah. Is this the one with the knife? Like T-Hole pulls out the horrible knife and they all freak out over it.
Yeah, you all agreed to be searched because you were confident that they would not find a murder weapon on you. But then it turns out T-Hole has more or less an exact copy of the murder weapon. The evil dagger of the Vecna cult. And then he got insulted that they suggested that just because he had the calling card of the evil Vecna cult, that he might be a member of it. And it was agreed that Sorteakon and T-Hole would both go into cells in the basement and then be put under zones of truth so that they could be questioned.
Yes.
But T-Hole evaded the zone of truth. A fact that actually came up. They eventually figured out that he just evaded the zone of truth. But Zarius had not evaded the zone of truth. So Zarius was compelled to tell the truth, as so far as you know was Sorteakon. But maybe she also evaded the zone of truth and it just didn't become quite as obvious.
How did T-Hole evade the zone of truth?
He's got an item.
Yeah, he has an item essentially that works like a
Hmm.
ring of mind shielding.
Ah,
And then didn't we ended up getting out and then uh ended up in somebody left and then it turned into a fight with the room got totally black or something.
Right. So before we get there, Sorteacon was questioned while she was presumably under a
Right.
zone of truth, and it was asked whether or not she had formed any deals with the giants, and she said no. And that she also said that the giants, so far as she knows, don't know where the brood is currently. That was sort of enough. Her questioning was enough that she was let out of the cell, and then it came out that T-Hole was, a distant relative to Vecna. It was suggested that Vecna was his son, but
Oh, that's right. Right.
Vecna was not actually his son. Vecna was like a great grandson. But
Close enough. Close
Yeah.
enough. I mean,
But Teal was eventually let out as well. Then you went back up to the normal sitting room that the ambassador does most of his work in. Sorteacon, however, had excused herself to go perform rituals over the Cirrus's body. And while you were talking to the ambassador, then that room was attacked and someone cast whispering darkness over the whole room. So the whole room essentially became black. People just began dying. There was no real target. It wasn't exactly a fight because there was nothing for you to attack. Zarius attempted to dispel it, but it was a high level spell and he missed the DC. So it
won.
essentially, right.
I remember.
So people started dying, including the ambassador, but you all made your way out of the field. The spell eventually lifted and you went in. Kepri went down at one point and had to be revived by Zarius. You went back in and raised the ambassador was raised after Sorteacon came with diamonds. She was able to raise him. There's also a dead member of the ruling council of the city, one of the members of the Kaja family, who was in the room studying a globe for apparently days on end.
mhm.
So you went outside where you were re-greeted with a group of cats that apparently are just fascinated with Aurelia because they actually followed you to the embassy in the first place.
Yeah.
They were all
So they
lined up along the wall as you came out.
yeah, they have a homeless cat problem here. So yeah, I addressed that with them. Cat overpopulation.
Right. It was, you had explained to the ambassador that you were going to go on ahead and you had your own errands to run. He said he would send a messenger before they actually set sail the next day. So there was that. What else happened? Oh, Clave came back that night when you were waiting around in your rooms. He
beat up.
looked, yeah, well, only around the head, really. It was like all of his orifices were bleeding. And luckily for you, you could only see the orifices around his head. So,
Some sort of fight club you went to.
right. And he was either revealing for the first time because he was so dazed and out of it, or there was some development because he was now telepathic and could just project his thoughts into your head. He then went to sleep. He essentially came in when you were all asleep, but he then slept later than the rest of you. He learned about T-holes being related to Vecna. You discussed going to see the Southern Sage, and that essentially, just to go through the timeline again, it is probably going to take the Empire and the Dragonborn about 10 days to get to the Oasis. And there's no reason to think that the giants are going to attack like the day that they get to the Oasis, because there's got to be a rumor floated about where the brood is, and the giants probably are going to take some time to organize before they attack. So it's at least 10 days you have until anything happens, until they get there, but it's probably actually a bit more than that. And it probably will only take you maybe 5 days or so to get to the gates of Sewell, which was the plan. Clave shared that you're going to need some sort of sacrifice that the Southern Sage would take if you're going to see the Southern Sage. And there was some discussion about what that could be, possibly just giving them T-hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But T-hole was at first okay with that, and then thought about it some more, and then objected.
But he seems compliant now. So
Yeah. Speak up. All right,
Yep.
good.
and,
Right.
and to be clear, the Empire has been trying to kill us, right? That's who we've been evading the whole time.
Well, the Empire, yeah. So the Empire did try to kill you at least at one point at the bridge when you were sailing under the bridge.
Yeah.
But originally, the Empire offered to have you come to Pax Glorantha so that you could essentially join with them. But everybody said no to that. So the next time you ran into T-Hole's ex-wife Turbo, she tried to kill you. Right. And she is probably somewhere further inland, probably, around Darmersha or somewhere in the Warmlands herself, since she is the military commander of the Imperial forces down here. But you haven't run into her since you've been down here. That's it. The messenger came, and so you're aware that they probably set sail or in the process of setting sail. So it's the afternoon.
And Clave is looking. Is this the same day, or I forget?
This is
when he came back.
He came back at night. So this is just a couple hours after he awoke.
Okay.
And I don't remember if Clave was at all healed.
He had a rest. He'll be fine.
Clean the blood out of his ears.
You're muted.
So Clave would probably, in the morning when he did wake up, he would still be sluggish and clearly still in some pain. But he would try to find a wash basin to clean the blood off of him. Or no, actually he just used prestidigitation, and suddenly he's no longer all dirty. And then he would take a bit of time to study the shadow of his spell book.
T-Hole, I'm sure, eventually puts on pants.
Not before his tea.
Yeah.
So groggily, Clave would say, so what's the plan? What are we doing now?
We leave soon.
Okay. Where did we decide we're going? I'm a little out of it, so I'm not really remembering things very clearly. And yeah, he takes a moment. He's just like, okay, I'm good.
All right. T-Hole suggested that you might be able to find something worth sacrificing to the Southern Sage in Darmersha.
Yeah.
As well
Yeah,
as more information about whatever's going on.
And I think that was one of when Clave was in that discussion, part of the thing was making sure that there was something that they had that we have to offer before we try to go to the gates of Sewell.
I think going to Darmersha first would be prudent.
Is that directly south?
Not
Mm,
directly, it's
no.
more southwest.
Okay.
We will have a river to follow. It will be easy to find.
We will be easy to find, yes.
We can stay high up and come
Oh.
down to drink of the water.
Hopefully, I don't have a big cat problem like they do here.
Wasn't there mention of some kind of auction?
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right. An auction with things there. We could, if we wanted to try and steal, we could try and steal.
I mean, they do have that auction's supposed to include a couple of big name items. Specifically, I think, what was that, a gem of seeing? I mean, I don't remember what a gem of seeing does, but maybe that could be a sufficient gift.
Yeah, there was a note. With a bunch of things, sensor of controlling air elementals, moon touched dagger.
Is there a window in this where we're staying, like that goes to the
There,
outside?
they're not like normal window size because it's a desert, but there are
Right.
small holes for ventilation.
Okay. Enough to see out of, or
Yeah, you can see out of them.
oh yeah, Aurelia goes to the window, looks out, and it's like, maybe he'd want a cat.
We'd have to carry the cat.
They are usually blood sacrifices, maybe 10,000 cats. All of the cats.
I don't know what you could give some all-knowing sage. It seems like a tall task.
Not necessarily all knowing, but locally knowing.
Knowing more than us.
Hmm.
Maybe they want fresh fruit or something.
Don't get much fresh fruit there.
Right.
Neither will we. It would definitely be spoiled by the time we got there.
Then I'll repose.
That's right.
I guess I don't have to conserve or reserve that spot for the body anymore. I can do it on the fruit.
Unless we end up with that body back again for some reason.
I mean, it could happen.
Turns out that's the one thing he wants.
Yep. Oh. Okay, there's the Gemmo scene.
Send a message to the ambassador or whatever. It's like, hey, send me a picture of that body. Make sure you got it.
Picture.
Red. Son of a bitch. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of items that we could attempt to procure.
Is that something we really want to do here? I mean, we are wanted for murder. Do we want to be wanted for theft as well?
We don't live here.
It doesn't matter.
We could be whoever we want to be. Don't forget. Although
on the outside. But that's a deeper discussion I think we need to have.
Sage, maybe.
does anybody know what a gem of seeing does? I mean, it can't just be restoring sight to blind people.
Everybody make an Arcana check.
I'm not going to because Clave has already claimed ignorance on the subject.
Clave could just be seeing what they know about it.
Yeah.
I mean, Zarius, you're aware that it like lets people see through like illusions, but that's about it.
Yeah. My understanding is that you could see through illusions like the one that you produce.
Okay. So being able to see through illusions, I mean, that's definitely encroaches on my thing, but still, I don't see how that's worth as much gold as they're expecting it to fetch. Must be something else it does. But I mean, just based on the name, Gem of Seeing and revealing illusions, so it reveals things that aren't necessarily well seen. So it seems like right up the what's it called? What is it called? And Clave is just kind of stuttering. You could tell that he's not working on all 4 cylinders.
Is he working on any cylinders?
Perhaps maybe 1.5. It's knocking about. Sage, southern sage, that's right. So, I mean, it seems like something that is up thematically appropriate for the southern sage, but also redundant. But then again, maybe it's about the value, not so much about what the offering is. Either way, it's the most expensive thing I've seen in the area. And I don't think we have time to just go looking through the sands for random treasure.
Is it worth it to go try to find these adventurers? Maybe they know some information. Sure, if they're people are talking about it, I'm sure they'll be easier to find.
Well, it sounds like they're expecting to get rich, so they're probably very popular. Very open with, what they've found.
When's the auction supposed to happen? Today or tomorrow?
Couple weeks.
Couple.
Oh,
Well, it's a couple weeks.
I mean, that doesn't mean you can't steal it today. Just you can't bid on it.
true.
We just get in there and maybe we could just buy it early. Make your
What?
with your piles of gold that you like to make.
You realize that we'd be purchasing this with fake gold, this thing that can see through illusions. My gold is an illusion. Ipso facto, they wouldn't fall for it, and we
Yeah, but
would
imagine the
probably...
irony. Can't you literally make them real? Isn't that part of the illusion? Your specialization doesn't it make it actually real?
I don't know what this gem of seeing does. I don't know how well it can see through illusions. I mean, yes, I can make them real, but it's kind of like solidifying shadow from shadow into ice shadow. It's not it's still not truly real, although it interacts with the world as if it is. So,
Well, we
but
could
I
meet
mean,
up with them.
these are metaphysical questions that even I am still studying in terms of how the magic works.
Well, if these adventurers have it, you could try that. And then if they spot it, you could say, well, we tested it to make sure that your gem is really doing what it's supposed to.
Why would they be using it if they're trying to sell it?
I don't know.
Because they're cautious and they know what they have and what it does.
Do you believe that they encounter people with your capabilities every day?
No, but I also believe if there's that much money at stake, they're going to take every precaution. I mean, I would if I were in their position.
Well, you are aware of such magics. Many folk are not.
These are adventurers. I'm sure they're well versed in what may be encountered out in the world. And we're not talking about the Empire where arcane magic is outlawed as it is. And even then, there are still bards up in the Empire that practice illusion magic. Hell, there's the there's Adrano who we almost ran into. I mean, people know of Adrano.
Who?
Adrano the clown. And
Who?
his illusion.
Creepy clown guy.
Yeah, that when we
creepy
came,
clown who was passing through walls in the one town that you fled quickly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still think we could have taken him.
I don't I was uncomfortable with the prospect. And especially, I had only met up with you guys just recently. At that point, I didn't know what you guys were fully capable of. And either way, people know of the tales of Adrano. I assume adventurers would too. And if that is a danger that lies within the world, it's easy to assume that adventurers would be aware that illusions exist and are dangers.
I don't even remember if my character knew who that was.
Yeah, but they're adventurers, so they're probably overconfident and cocky and probably think they can just get away with whatever.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not opposed to pilfering the gem. I just don't think the right way to do it would be handing them a bag of fake gold that the gem could easily potentially see through. And then we're at the wrong end of a sword.
Well, is it even worth going to find them and just talk to them and get a feel for who they are?
I mean, I don't see how it could hurt. It would at least give us some information about, how they came across it or where it might be. And another thing that we can consider, because we have a few weeks before the auction, which means we still have a few weeks to see if maybe we find something along the way in Darmersha or as we move towards Tough Nut, the Tough Nut Oasis.
Definitely, yes.
Definitely.
I mean, T-Hole would add, they do have a very extensive library here, at least in the more noble quarters of the city. Perhaps we could research what sorts of things this seer would accept before we plan a whole heist.
That's actually a well thought out idea, T-Hole.
Feeling okay?
I'm cool as a cucumber.
I'm talking about T-Hole.
Oh,
Well, I already went there to conduct some research, but they must have
Oh, that's
local
right.
legends about this sage. If he's as old as they say. If he's as old as they say, he probably remembers me from my younger days.
Let's hope not.
let's hope that the Southern Sage hasn't had any untoward interactions with T-Hole that would sour the deal completely.
Wouldn't surprise me if they're related.
That's when we sacrifice him.
Perhaps he owes me a favor and we could just go in and I demand he repay that favor by answering our question.
I bet that's exactly what it is. We're thinking of this whole thing. We show up with 1,000 cats. And all it takes is, oh, it's T-Hole. I owe you one.
Or you show up with 1,000 cats and the Southern Sage will answer your question if you take away the 1,000 cats.
Yep.
We bring him cats. He's fucking allergic.
Mm. Oh,
right,
so
well-
what's the plan?
I think the library idea is a good one. Let's get some information on what we're dealing with the Southern Sage, and maybe even see if we can't learn more about what this gem of seeing does. Because it could be a worthwhile offering. There also could be something fairly useful to us in our journeys ahead.
Um, and how is fucking Clave looking right now again? Like, is he still struggling?
You cast seeming last session, so you look like your normal disguise self.
Then I don't know. Then
well,
I don't care anymore.
Well, wait a minute. What were you saying? What you look like, or what?
No, what you
Clave
look like. What Clave looks like.
Well, Clave had, because it's still the morning, right? Where we just woke up the next day.
Yeah, it's about noon.
Okay, so if we're still in the room, Clave probably wouldn't have cast seeming just yet. And Clave is kind of hanging out in, strangely, he is in his, what you would assume is his natural form, with his pale white skin and milky eyes. But yeah, he's clear of any kind of dirt or grime, blood. It doesn't appear that he's physically injured, but Zarius, you would see that cognitively he's a little slower than usual. It's clear that he's still in some pain, particularly around his head and neck. And But it also seems like as the day goes on, he's improving slightly.
I'm just like trying to make sure, whether or not I need to throw some fucking healing on you.
If you were to offer it, Clave would turn it down.
Well, I wasn't gonna offer it. If you need it, I was just gonna do it.
Oh, well.
So that's what I'm trying to determine. I don't know, can I do like a
I would say based
cursory medicine check to see if I
you
could
could
determine?
definitely do a medicine check.
Good thing it wasn't a disadvantage, although not really that bad of a roll, even with disadvantage.
I'm really good at it.
So what are Clave's hit points now?
I mean, statistically, mechanically, Clave is at full hit points and doesn't have any levels of exhaustion.
Okay.
Greater restoration would probably restore him to full cognitive ability.
That's what I was trying to determine. I forgot if we did said whether or not the prayer beads required the material components.
They do not.
Okay. Well then, let's see here. There's a black pearl, so yeah, I will grab the beads on my staff and I guess I'll pull them off and then I sort of like manipulate sort of try not to say that I fondle the fucking thing,
So,
but basically,
Darius fondles the end of his staff.
Yeah. And then some white energy spews from it, spews forth all over Clave, and he feels better.
Oh, the energy. I'm bathed in it.
This familiar feeling.
Daddy? Oh, that went dark real quick.
Yeah, so the prayer beads glow slightly, and then the magic, it goes into my hand and I touch your forehead.
Ow. What? Oh. Oh, that's quite nice.
Pull it together.
Wow. I'm gonna need you to do that more regular. Like, I feel amazing right now.
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
It is done.
End of conversation.
Yeah, I don't. You were fucking slacking there, and I wasn't gonna have it. Not if you're gonna be traveling with us.
Kurt, I texted something. Well, okay, so library, research, who's in?
Deal will go.
is not my strong suit. But I will go.
Aurelia, you in?
I guess everybody's going, I'll go.
All right. So, T-Holt, tell me a little bit about the library. What kind of people did you see in the library?
It has books.
I mostly saw students there. At least I assume they were students. They were young and appeared to be of the right age to be students. Maybe they were someone's research assistants or something.
Did you see any kind of badges or any visible marking that indicated that they were supposed to be there?
No, I wandered in.
Okay. And they let you in? No problem?
There's no problem for me to get in. I don't necessarily know if they will be as accommodating for the rest of you.
Why not?
Well, I'm me. They could no doubt sense my regal bearing.
Right. Okay. So just to make this easy, I'm just gonna make us all appear to be common people that you would expect to see in a library, student like. T-Hole, do you have any, can you talk about what these people were wearing at all? Just to try and make the illusion a little bit more accurate.
They appear to be wearing just, I guess I wouldn't say simple robes. They look to be expensive robes. But their garments didn't necessarily appear to be regal. There were no gemstones or gold involved.
Okay,
Fine
that's good.
silks.
Were they mostly humans within? Were there any halflings or dragonborn?
There were no dragonborn. There were, however, halflings, half elves, and humans.
Okay. Okay. So I'll make you guys appear as I think a student might appear. We'll refine the illusion as we get closer, and I'll be a halfling to provide a little bit more authority if we do run into anybody that maybe take issue.
Diminutive.
Oh, my response message did not go through. So I'll just retype it. Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Clave casts seeming. So everybody appears as a kind of typical person that you might expect in Kajarim. And with robes similar to what T-Hole described, and then Clave will appear as a halfling in similar robes.
So you walk out. The courtyard is studded with cats. And you turn to leave. All of the cats, however, are still focused intently on the door.
The door.
Interesting.
Or,
I assume Aurelia is also
Yeah.
disguised. They're
Mhm.
waiting for Aurelia and they do not see her, so.
Well, now we know what it takes to ditch the cats.
Yeah.
Do you make your way through and around into the central part of the city, eventually coming to the great university of Ville-Caja. And Tihol leads you up to the library. No one seems to bat an eye. There was a little bit of a delay getting through the gates, but not much of one. And they weren't especially diligent about searching people or even really asking for papers passing from the embassy district into the governmental district. The library is pretty extensive. It could take a while to find what you're looking for. So everybody make me an investigation check. Well, I guess everybody let me know what it is you're researching.
Clave would focus on researching the Southern Sage. Specifically around the history of interactions with the Southern Sage, and if there's any information about the Southern Sage's disposition or any myths or fables connected to successful interactions with him, or at least survivable ones.
Would it be helpful for me to cast tongues on somebody?
How long does tongues last?
1 hour.
So it is undoubtedly like there. So there are a lot of things here that are in common. It is doubtless that there will be many texts that are not, though. So that probably would be helpful.
Okay.
It would give somebody advantage on their investigation check.
Then I shall do so.
Who are you casting it on?
Who's our best investigator? You or T-Hole? I guess T-Hole's not here. We won't make him do it.
Well, I have a +10 to investigation.
Okay.
Well,
I will
Theo
put
has a +0. You can't even divide by T-holes because it would break math.
Am I smarter than T-Hole? That's weird. All right.
I'm not so sure that's weird.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so should I roll investigation, Kurt?
Yeah, go ahead. And what are other people doing?
I don't know. I wouldn't.
T-hole decides he's going to investigate what a gem of seeing actually does because he doesn't know either.
I don't know what I would even do. Honestly, not very good at this. Maybe
does Zarius look like he's confused and doesn't know where to start?
No, I think I would just take a moment to settle on what I would want to start looking up. And I think maybe, if anything, I might go and look for things that might be helpful when imbuing enchantments on items. I've had one foray into the realm with a staff that T-hole technically wields and holds, though he doesn't use it very often. But I had other thoughts. I still have some pelts that I had gotten from
Displacer beasts.
Displacer beasts. Yeah.
How have you been keeping those intact? Are they preserved in some way? That was months ago.
Feel like I don't remember where I got them.
It was so after you left Starlock Prison and you were making your way sort of around to get back to Cartha, there was a point in time when you were attacked by a bunch of fae and elves in like a little copse of woods off to the side of the road. So that was where you were attacked by displacer
Oh
beasts.
yeah, I remember that.
That's where you got them from. One of them I remember one of them you did not do so good in saving, but you did save some of them.
Yeah, I figured the saliva gland is probably definitely no good anymore and has been tossed out because that was venomous. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when I would have, actually had a moment to deal with it. We were in that the one city for a while.
Yeah, you were in Cartha for a while during the drought, or at least the lack of potable water.
Clean water. Yeah.
You were in that little the town on the coast where the the doppelgangers were impregnating people for a couple days.
Mm-hmm. I recall that. Yeah. Any of those times, I could have looked at my inventory and known that I needed to do something about those.
I mean, that's the question. So, I'll be fair. Make me a wisdom check. DC 10.
Just straight wisdom.
Yep.
Hey.
There you go. So you at some point realized, wait, all these things are going to go bad. So you did get them tanned.
Okay, cool.
So you still have the hides are still intact. You can't really tan a venom sac. So
No,
that's probably gone.
Maybe I could get something out of them into a vial, but by that point I don't think it's worth it. I would have just tossed that. I think.
Yeah, I think anything you keep around for several months, you could get something out of it into a vial that would be poisonous.
Well, what about gentle repose?
Well, he was already using that on his mummified body.
I could do that multiple times, but it's always prepared. I have no choice. No,
So,
I mean,
you can research that.
Yeah.
What about Aurelia?
Cool.
I mean, there are still things you don't know about your map. There are words on that map that don't have any obvious correlation to distances. So you could research what's a king stride and how is that different from a king step?
Yeah, that seems like practical information. I'm gonna look, see if I can find any kind of research about curing diseases or stuff. I'm trying to find any cases where somebody had I don't know, astral plague and got it cured. I'm sure they don't talk about that, but extreme cases where things were cured, or other than trying to find some seer who can point us to a lost city that may not or may not, if that doesn't happen to work out.
What other options are there?
Yeah, what's our other options here?
Death.
Besides wish.
Right.
Or dying and being wished back.
Right. I mean, so really you're trying to find that city because a goddess said that you would be able to be cured there. So that's part of it. I would say you probably would be aware at this point that nothing in this library has as much medical knowledge as Zarius.
That's fair.
But a nat one for him gets him a 16.
Okay.
I've got
I
a
guess
really
if-
good
if-
book.
So I guess if Zarius doesn't, all right. Oh,
So all I'm saying is to find something that Zarius doesn't know, you would basically need to get an investigation score higher than about you need a 27 on your investigation to beat Zarius.
okay, that's not gonna happen. I'm just gonna go through the library and see what everybody else is reading.
If I get a nat 20 on a medicine check, it's a 35.
Okay, so Zarius, roll me your did you? No, that was your wisdom.
I
check.
haven't
Roll
done,
me your
yeah. Investigation.
yes.
All right, here we go. I'm real good at this. Yeah, I'm all right. I did okay.
So Mike, would you are you going to share what you find, or do you want me to send you a separate message so you can decide? I think you're muted.
Sorry, I think I would share it.
Okay, so you don't find much that's sort of definite about the Southern Sage. There's a couple scholars here and there that seem convinced that he's real, a couple scholars that are convinced that it's just a story. But there are a lot of stories going back, and a lot of people have spent a lot of time kind of researching these stories and compiling them. So the Southern Sage more or less seems to, in terms of disposition, be it's rather hard to describe because in a certain sense he's very neutral towards the people who come in as long as you are following the rules, which is to say that you brought him a suitable sacrifice. If he rejects your sacrifice, he's immediately hostile in the sense that he's supposed to kill people. It seems, however, though, the few people who have survived his wrath did so by being way at the back of the group and immediately, getting the hell out of there, because there's no stories about the Southern Sage pursuing anyone out of the caves in which he lives. So the speculation is from that. Nobody knows how he got there or why, but the speculation is that he just lives in those caves and never leaves them. The caves themselves are not in our plane, and there's a lot of speculation about what plane they're in. The general assumption is that they're probably in the Feywild, but there's a significant minority of people who disagree with that, because many of the tales that talk about the journey in enough detail seem as if they're passing through parts of the astral plane. Other tales seem like they're passing through parts of the Shadowfell. So there's contradictory evidence. Nonetheless, the area right around the Sage does seem to best match the terms of the Feywild. At least it explains why the mountains in which he lives are supposed to be so green, even though the corresponding mountains in the Hinjaz mountain range are otherwise pretty barren. In terms of what he has accepted as suitable sacrifices, it's almost always living souls. And generally it has to be of he's never accepted living souls less than 10 unless there is something very unique about them. So certain very high level people or high ranking people, he has accepted their souls and their bodies, which he consumes. But if you're just offering normal people, it has to be a fairly high number of normal people. And given that the journey itself is fairly treacherous, most of the people who've made the journey tend to go with spares, because if you take just 10 slaves and one of them dies along the way, you're out of luck. So much like in the story you were told, they traveled with a lot of slaves to give to him, enough so that if there was mishaps along the way, they'd still be able to make whatever the requisite number is. In terms of items, you would gather the fact that the Gem of Seeing is a known quantity means it's not like it's a known item, means it's probably not going to be acceptable. because all of the items he's accepted are unique in some way. Now, everything's unique on a certain level, but they were sort of unique in remarkable ways, not always magical, not even always of clear monetary value. But like, for example, one time there was one person went around the desert and was collecting little pieces of silver rock that were said to come from the moon that's dedicated to the god Moraine. And they look like little pure droplets of silver in solid rock form. But they're not metal. They are rock and non-conductive. And he was able to gather up about 1,000 of these rocks. And, they exist. Nobody ascribes very much value to them because there's no use for them so much. And he accepted this collection of 1,000 rocks at one point. Other items, though, were in the nature of like artifacts, single magic items that there's only one of in the entire world, or very large non-magical gems that are in some way like the largest diamond ever found kind of things.
So before Clave shared any of that with anybody, Clave would look up from the tome that he's studying and say, guys, I know what we have to do. We have to kidnap Turbo and offer her as a sacrifice.
It's very specific.
Well, it is, but it satisfies a couple of requirements for the offering. First of all, Southern Sage deals in blood. I mean, living souls are his currency. And unless we want to bring dozens of slaves along with us, we need a person or soul of particular value, particular uniqueness. Turbo seems to be a person like that. And also, it checks a mark off my list because I want her to die. And also, she's bad for the Empire. So, I mean, it's a double win.
The issue with that specific plan is getting her here.
She's in the area. That's the best part. She's here with this fleet that is outside of Kajurim in the at port. Now I don't know if she's with the fleet or if she's down, with one of the boarding parties.
Right. A fleet. That's like what, a couple ships, like 20 people. I mean, should be easy to find.
It was mentioned she's leading the armies of the Empire, so she is clearly either down around Darmersha or in the warm lands at the moment.
Yeah, we just catch her when she's going to take a crap.
She is on the way, definitely.
I mean,
but she's not exactly nearby.
Hey, if we want to survive the Southern Sage, we need to bring an offering that is going to not get us killed, because the Southern Sage either accepts your offering wholeheartedly or immediately just rips you to pieces. I'd prefer not to be ripped to pieces, and also would really like to see Turbo ripped to pieces.
Yeah,
come on, guys, it's perfect.
I just look at Zarius like this dude's out of his fucking mind.
Regretting giving him that greater restoration.
Yeah.
T-Hole, come on. She's your ex-wife. You gotta love this plan.
I'm gonna say T-Hole is off. I don't know how Dustin would react to that. So I suspect he'd be on your side, but he is off with doing his own research at the moment.
I mean, unless you guys have like something absolutely unique in all the world that can't be found anywhere else, or like dozens of slaves that you're okay with just slaughtering.
Take his eyeball out. Go for the eyes, boo.
My contact's all fucked up. I don't know how that happened. It's out of my face. I mean, guys, how we hate Turbo, don't we? She tried to kill us multiple times. She's also the one leading the people trying to kill us for the Empire.
Yeah, I guess.
And she's totally corrupting the Empire. I'm dumbfounded. I thought that you guys would be all aboard for this plan, which is a phrase. I don't know if that is a proper phrase because I don't know if trains exist here, but still.
But hey,
Yeah,
you're firing
about
on
that.
all cylinders, and you don't know if cylinders exist here.
Yeah.
Right. Just as long as nobody's gonna check your oil, we're good.
Do you guys ever think about that when you like say something that's a colloquialism and then you realize why would that phrase exist in the place where I'm saying it?
I actually do think about this. Yes. I think of it before I say it.
I usually think of it after I've invoked the name of our Lord.
Which reminds me, earlier I heard somebody like exclaiming, they said, Jesus Christ, or no, what was it? Fuck, Jesus, Mother of Christ. That's what it was. I'm like, that's not the story.
Well,
If we can
anyways,
find her and easily procure her, it could be useful. Yes.
I mean, if the Empire is helping the these people and is going to be in some way part of the assault, the attempted assault on the Sky Castle, I mean, that's like a triple win there. We save the Dragonborn brood, we win a Sky Castle, and we get Turbo and get to kill her in a horrible fashion in a way that gets us lots of really valuable information, life-saving information, I might add, because then we get to cure ourselves by finding that magic hoodoo spot. I mean, that's like a quadruple win right there.
What would Lucia Rossi do?
Not this. He would offer himself, most likely.
If he had a soul.
That's fair.
Wait, what?
He would offer himself if he had a soul, but his soul was sold.
Wait, Lucia
It's a long story.
Yeah. Lucia Rossi sold his soul to the librarian in Morning Games Manor. And he never told anybody any different.
But he was.
It was
Oh,
a
okay.
clerical error. Don't worry about it, Clay.
The more I know about you guys, the more disappointed I get.
I didn't realize you were in character, Mike. That's why I was arguing with you. I
Oh.
thought you had forgotten Lucia Rossi's whole story.
I'm very aware of it. Unlike Clave, I have not had any major cognitive issues lately. I figured you were speaking for T-Hole, Kurt.
No, I was just confused myself.
I couldn't tell. I'm like, are they? Feels like Mike's in character, but I don't know this if.
Well, all right. Regardless of what Lucirosi might or might not do, especially given that he's a
soulless heathen.
yes. He was supposed to be the best of you. What the fuck?
He's just an idiot.
Well, anyways, it's a good plan. Well, that's a good start to a plan. A goal, a good goal for a plan. Darius, you have magic that could probably suss her out.
If I still had my mirror.
Okay, we'll get a mirror. How long does that spell take to cast?
10 minutes.
Unfortunate. But I mean, come on. If Darmersha is, or if there's an auction where a sensor of controlling air elementals, a gem of seeing, if there's a place where these things are being bought and sold, I can guarantee there's a mirror.
Why wouldn't there be one here in town?
True. I'm sure the seeress probably had one. She's not needing it anymore. Maybe we can go and leech it off her.
I do not believe that she would need one.
Why?
Well, you look into the mirror, and she could not see anything.
Do smells work? Can you pick up smells?
Could hear, I suppose.
But she could see, maybe not with sight, but she clearly had some gift for senses.
Who's the ambassador that we've been dealing with? What was her name? The one that we had the zone of truth with?
Sorteikon was the priestess you had the zone of truth on. The ambassador was Nisma, but he wasn't in the zone of truth.
So, okay, Sorteikon. Why don't we just grab her? If we're going to grab anybody, we know where she is.
Wait, for the sacrifice?
Yeah, why not?
I don't think Sartekon
Is good enough?
musters up. No.
If we had a method for transporting him, but perhaps this giant king.
Another good option.
The
Perhaps,
giant,
but
the giant king.
Turbo, the reason the Turbo, I think, is our best shot is because she has a particularly unique history in influencing the Empire. I mean, think about it. If she was T-Hole's ex-wife, how long has she lived?
Only he could tell us.
Yeah, and then
Or she.
And how powerful do you think she is?
Well, the power is not necessarily in the physical force, although if you remember in the fight, she was quite a capable fighter. She nearly killed me. And I got to get my lick back in. But also,
Careful,
It's-
that's what
it's-
got T-Hole in trouble.
It's the influence that she's had on the empire, her position, the things that she has done to change the course of the empire and corrupt it for the worse.
Maybe I'm not remembering, but I don't remember anything specifically that she had done. She just was trying to seek us out and make sure that T-Hole didn't fucking get the wand. Very specifically. That's all I remember.
All of the people that are intimately involved with T-Hole, whether his children, his spouses, his descendants, they all seem to have a particular,
Mental illness?
for lack of a better phrase, spark. I mean, so far as I can see, T-Hole hasn't produced any beggars or impoverished children, or all that we've encountered about involving T-Hole's family have been shakers and movers of the world. So if we're going to look for one person to sacrifice that is going to give us the best chance at appeasing the Southern Sage, I don't know how we could do better than Turbo, aside from handing over T-Hole or Vecna or yeah, I mean,
Let's do both. While we're at it, we'll just take both of them.
Turbo is much more reasonable to kidnap. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we know where she is relatively, and we've met her on the field of combat before and nearly overcame her. I mean, yeah, she almost killed me too, but I mean, it was close. It could have gone either way.
At the moment, trying to take her might distract from their aid of the people here. Especially if they see, well, I guess you won't let them see, but still.
But she's more concerned with finding us, as far as I recall. I mean, yes, she's here on orders to support the people of Kajarim, but I don't think that that's truly the purpose that she has here. Plus, she's hunting us. We might as well hunt her back. Get her before she gets us. And make a dime off of it in the process.
The giant king, or even the crown that my people use, is a unique item, and they align with our current goals already.
Are you saying that you would trade the priceless crown of your people to the
If it would
Southern
stop them
Sage?
if it would make them stop fighting over it, perhaps.
Do you think they're actually going to just stop fighting over it?
If it is
If-
gone,
If the crown is gone, they'll find another reason to fight. There's a power vacuum. So it's going to be filled.
they will be forced to figure it out.
By figure it out, it's not going to be any less bloody than it already is.
Yeah, but we'll be cured.
I'm just surprised to hear Zaria suggesting giving up something so what I thought to be sacred to his people so easily. And also, the Giant King, I mean, I feel like we'll have a better chance at finding Turbo and actually bringing her to the Southern Sage than a Giant King. I could be wrong, but I also don't know that the Giant King would be as good of a sacrifice. And my concern is, from everything that I've read, the Southern Sage determines whether the sacrifice is worthy. And if he finds it short, he immediately slaughters all of those in the vicinity.
How would the King of Giants not be a sufficient sacrifice?
Because
Go on.
I'm not saying that it's not a sufficient sacrifice. It could be.
I only mean that it would align with the other goals that we have set for ourselves. If we just allow ourselves to be distracted with attempting to acquire this other person, we could do it. We might even be able to convince her to come with us instead of having to capture her.
Okay.
And I think that perhaps that would be even better. If we could do this, then let us try it. But we will have to come up with a good argument. Or lie.
Wait, what?
What?
You're going to try to convince Turbo to come with us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What if we tell her that?
Does Zarius look okay? He doesn't look like under the weather or something, right? Has he got the same thing Clave's got now?
Yeah, I mean, Zarius did just flippantly offer like one of the most sacred treasures of his people, and then also suggest that we could talk Turbo into being her a sacrifice for us.
Listen,
so right now he's covered by an illusion, so you can't tell if he's looking crazy in the eyes.
Oh.
The crown is just a crown. It has no religious value.
But
It is a
has
symbol.
Value to your people, and as a symbol, symbols have power.
And if you remove the symbol, it will force the people to talk.
Or it will force them to go to the Sage all the time, and he'll have all kinds of options. It's a great plan.
Also, if your people know that you stole the crown and destroyed it, or at least gave it up, how would you not expect anything short of complete exile from your people? You would go down in infamy among your people.
I am already in exile.
It'd be double exile for you.
As it stands, I am the one set to inherit this crown. And so I can do with it as I please.
So they should just give it to you then.
My understanding is the Giant King has it.
Yeah, but then in accepting the crown, taking ownership of it, don't you then accept the role and responsibilities that the crown bears? Even if you don't believe that, that would be what your people believe, isn't it?
Then I suppose they would have to accept my wisdom in destroying it.
Why would they? Why do you assume that your people are going to be suddenly so much less conflict driven and bloodthirsty for power, or at least within the factions that are vying for it? I mean, maybe you're right. Your people are beset by demons and giants. They have other things on their mind, but they're also without a leader. And So
As for the lie that we could tell Turbo, perhaps we could convince her that we know where this wand is, and we could take her to it with the intent of letting her take it. I can even put T-hole under a zone of truth.
or I can just compel her to come with us.
And could you put T-hole under a zone of truth? Because that was a problem.
As far as she knows, I can. She doesn't know that he has some ability to evade it.
Either way, however we get Turbo there, I think that is going to be our best shot. And she's in the area anyway. We can seek her out. We don't even need to go like be distracted from our plan to help your people, Sirius.
My only concern is that if we take her forcefully, that then the Empire would take their support back, and my people would be lost.
Well, then let's take down the Giant King and his Sky Castle, win a victory for your people, instill hope within them, and then perhaps that will be enough to rally your people to strengthen their resolve in the conflict.
If that is the case, then we would have time for this auction. As it stands, if we left now, we could reach the gates
The auction
quickly.
is not going to be helpful. The auction is not helpful.
If we could acquire items, any sufficiently powerful magic items could be helpful.
No, not with the Southern Sage, unless it's something unique.
No, I'm not saying for the Sage. I'm saying for us.
Oh,
If there is something that we might want or need, the ability to see through illusions would be helpful. What else was under there? Frostbrand. Also helpful. I don't know anything about a moon touch dagger.
I don't
Basically
know
a, a poor man's magical weapon.
Gotcha.
It's magical, it glows in some cases, and that's about it.
So it helps you get through like resistances or whatever.
Mhm.
Robe of useful items. It's got useful in the name.
I don't know. None of the items at the auction strike me as particularly useful. And while the gem of seeing may be useful, I mean, just being able to see through illusions. I don't know.
Having an air elemental at our disposal at all times wouldn't be helpful.
I've never encountered an air elemental, so I don't know.
That's fair. We were mentioning the going to see the Sage originally because we could get there and potentially deal with him, treat with him, and be back before any conflict happened with the giants. We travel much faster than the boats would do.
Well, maybe we can use that same time to capture Turbo and bring her to the Southern Sage, and then have time to wage battle with the Dragonborn.
I go back to my original statement about forcing her and what it might mean for my people.
Well, then we may have to wait until after the battle to see the Southern Sage.
It will give us time to do things then.
Sure, we could continue making plans, shoring up resources, getting intelligence.
T-Hole comes back at that point. And he adds that Gem of Seeing essentially gives you true sight for 10 minutes at a time, 3 times a day. Assuming it's fully charged. And so that does let you see through visual illusions and therefore automatically save on any saving throw against them. It lets you see ethereal creatures within range of 120 feet. Lets you see invisible creatures. Lets you see the true form of anything that's been like shape changed.
I'm familiar with True Sight. It is on my spell list. It just requires expensive things. Or I guess not like super expensive, just unique items. An ointment for the eyes that costs 25 gold pieces is made from mushroom powder, saffron, and fat, and is consumed by the spell.
Okay. You don't have to actually rub it into your eyes.
It's an ointment for the eyes. So I don't know how you're supposed to apply it. Magic, I don't know, does something with it, I guess. But that's a 6th level spell. I have access to it.
Could be worse. The ointment could be like mustard and cayenne pepper.
Yeah. But yeah, the gem would allow me to not have to use a spell slot because that is high level.
And Clive, by the way, it didn't take you very long to find out more about the sage because you rolled so high. So if you wanted to research something else, you could probably do it.
Yeah, I would then research the any of the myths, fables, legends regarding the path, as well as, better understanding the map in relation to that.
Okay, I would say, the path, you probably would have come across that while you were researching the first question. There aren't as many stories that deal with the details of how people got there, but there are still quite a few. And it seems as though people, as they're moving, at least the easiest, the majority view is that as people are moving along the path north from the gates of Seoul, that people periodically either enter into bubbles of planar energy, like they're temporarily visiting a plane while they're in the planar bubble around it, or maybe they're actually visiting little demi-planes that just happen to resemble other planes. It's not exactly clear. There are some stories about people who had to pay tolls to various creatures that live in these bubbles in order to get out again. as it's not always possible for somebody to voluntarily leave. Some of them are a little more trap-like. Obviously, if anybody, there are plenty of stories of people who set out on this journey and never came back. So it is possible those people just found themselves trapped in a bubble they could not get out of for one reason or another. But the actual things that you tend to run into, they vary by group and the exact details of the path taken. Most of them do seem to pass through at least part of the astral plane from time to time. And a lot of the stories mention the realm of the Scorpion Queen. That seems to be a bubble of astral plane set around an ancient and mostly ruined Scorpion temple that she inhabits and tends to, but doesn't seem to rebuild.
Okay. And then what about the specifics of the map? Like what you had mentioned before with understanding what a king's step is versus whatever.
That is its own. So figuring out what there's nothing in there, actually, nothing in the legends about the map itself. So that would be a separate investigation if you want to roll that.
Okay.
We'll probably want to spend some time trying to determine, just in case we don't get a good answer about this disease or how to find the city. Because if we're passing through a plane, that means that's a portaling happening. And so if I'm near you, I'm going to get it.
If you're what?
If we pass through a portal to another dimension, then I will contract the disease. Unless we could somehow take precautions against that.
I mean, you're the medical expert. By the way, Kurt, do I still have advantage from the tongue spell?
No, it would have taken more than the hour. And actually, I was going to say it probably should be at disadvantage anyway, because this is the research you're doing after the research. So you're doing it quickly.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to just be here all day, I can cast it again.
I mean, one thing you do come across is that, at least according to the sources you've seen, there's not actually supposed to be a map. It is supposed to be essentially a unique journey for everyone. And so a map is supposed to be essentially pointless.
Okay.
Maybe everybody's gotten a map, they just don't tell you about it. And everybody's map's different.
Well, there's some things that I've heard that would at least get us to the start of the journey. Hopefully that would be enough, even if the map is unreliable.
Do we expect to be here for the rest of this day? Are we delaying our departure?
I mean, if we're gonna have some downtime to be working some things out before heading over to the defending the brood lair, there are certainly some things that Clave can be working on.
Oh, and I forgot, Zarius, you do find some texts that talk about rudimentary levels of enchantment of objects. A lot of them you would dismiss as probably just folk wisdom, like talismans to ward off evil or protect you from the evil eye and things like that. A couple of them do seem a little more scholarly, but probably not necessarily by spellcasters. And you don't really find anything that you find practically useful.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I expected. I'll just continue on.
And of course, Aurelia sees all of this because she's looking over your shoulders.
Sure.
So I would say Teal probably would just vote to go now. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're flying a bit in the dark. It'll just be cooler. Maybe take fewer rest stops.
Sure.
So where are we flying to? Darmersha?
Yeah. That's like a couple days, right? With the windwalk.
Yes.
I mean, I guess that's something. Do we want to attempt to fly at night? And perhaps one of your illusory homes could house us during the day. Maybe something underground.
We can do that.
Then I must nap.
Darius is so old.
Yeah, you don't want to get like a truly cantankerous Zarius, all right? You might think he is now, but keep him up well past his bedtime, he's not going to be happy. All right,
Go back to the hotel then.
sure.
To nap.
Sounds like it.
You could do whatever you want.
Well, Clave has some studying he wants to do.
So Zarius gets his nap. It's there. By the time your nap is done, it would probably be like 7 o'clock at night.
I get up, I'm all discombobulated because I'm waking up and it's the sun's going down. It's all weird. How do people do this bullshit?
That's it. You take a late afternoon nap. Good luck going to sleep at a regular hour.
In the hours that we're doing this, because I have the Iteran spell pages still.
Mhm.
Could I spend some of my shadow gold that I've been acquiring and put the sending spell in my spell book?
Sure. I forget how long that usually takes.
I think it's an hour per spell level.
I think it may be 2 hours per spell level. And then like 1 hour for things in your school or something. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. You'd be able to get it done in the next couple of
Okay.
days. So
Okay. This way we have a backup just in case we get separated, Darius.
But when would that ever happen? Who splits the party?
I don't. Clave's the one that runs off for fucking hours at a time.
Do you not remember the wind gust?
All right. Gotta pee.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break.
Okay. I'm here, by the way. If people are waiting for me. I'm just away from the computer.
So Mike is listening. So as the sun is now setting, what is it you want to do?
I guess assuming everybody's ready. Well, I guess what's I suppose perhaps we should confirm the moon cycle. You know, will we have light to see each other in our gaseous forms?
So
I didn't really think about that.
Let's pull up the calendar.
I know. Do any of you have dark vision?
I don't. Or actually, sorry, maybe I do now. I forgot because I did go to the other.
I mean, Aurelia does, but magic items don't function when you're in gaseous form, so she loses it in that form.
Oh, then so would Clave. Um, can anybody cast light?
Cast what now?
Light?
Oh. Yes.
I mean, we would look like a glowing cloud in the sky, but at least it would give some beacon for everybody to be able to follow.
That's we're going to introduce these people at this stage in their early development to UFOs. Let's do it. Fuck it.
I mean, the only other option is I have the dark vision spell.
How long does
but-
that last, though?
Well, I would also have to prepare it,
Oh, sure.
but it does last 8 hours and it's not concentration. But it also only grants dark vision up to 60 feet. So it's not like we'd have any better way of seeing the terrain around us. We'd only be able to see basically each other so we don't get separated.
Well, I don't know if Kurt's found that calendar yet.
I have. So of the 4 moons, one of them is always dark, so that one doesn't count for this. But one of them is 3/4 full and 2 of them are half full, so it's relatively bright.
We should be able to see the terrain.
Okay. We would still need to be able to see each other. So that's either light spell or we wait a bit for me to. Well, Kurt, how do you rule when a wizard wants to re-prepare their spells from their spell book? Like, is that something that they can do during the day, or is it only in the morning?
I mean, generally, I say you can prepare spells once a day, so it's usually in the morning, unless you spend an action point for like story purposes. Like, I don't think this matters enough for me to be a stickler to the rules because it's not going to unbalance the game.
Okay. So then it's just a matter of, do we care about being stealthy, or are we accepting somebody as a beacon that everybody can follow?
I mean, what I would officially rule is that in all of the days and days of planning, you thought about this, and so you actually prepared different spells this morning to avoid the problem of, well, we've just learned that our enemy is weak to cold damage, so I'm going to re-prepare spells to do all cold damage.
Okay. Well, I can use a bunch of spell slots then to cast Dark Vision. I would need 4 spell slots. So
You get you some twin casting.
yeah, it'd be nice. But so that would be all of my second level. And well, let's see, does Dark Vision increase with nope. So all of my second level, 1 of my third. So now we all have Dark Vision for the next 8 hours.
We'll try it out. If necessary, we will get a light next time. Tomorrow night, if we feel it.
Yeah, I have no idea whether, like, I want to write to the sage advice people to be like, when people are changed into a gas for purposes of wind walking, how does dark vision work? So you're flying out?
Yep.
Okay, someone roll me a d12.
All right.
So you've, I assume you're flying for the full 8 hours. Are you taking your hourly breaks? I mean, that's mostly for the heat, and it is, if anything, a little bit cold, not like crazy cold, but
So
like it's light jacket weather.
Okay.
But I see no reason to stop except to eat.
Yeah, that would work for me.
So you're able then to make it somewhat further than you were when you had to take periodic breaks. But nothing seems to happen overnight. When the spell runs its course, it is still dark outside. It's the wee hours of the morning. It's probably going to be another 3 or 4 hours before the sun comes up.
All right. So once that happens, I would cast my Mirage Arcana to create an underground dwelling of similar type as I've been creating. Very luxurious, very comfortable. I'd also have walls that look like they're aquariums to make it look like we're underwater. No, actually, it is underwater. There's just going to be there's going to be a new lake.
I just
Trying to draw attention to us
with all kinds of fish, whale sharks.
I mentioned underground because I was looking for subtlety.
Giant squid. Barracuda.
Have you seen a squid before?
Yeah.
Clave has. Where's he seen one of these?
In
He's
books.
seen little squid. He's just scaling up.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that I obviously have thought about because it came up before, is that all of these like adventurers have seen all these like crazy monsters, but it's almost impossible that they've ever seen like a giraffe. Unless you're playing in like an African themed game or been to a zoo.
So here's my interpretation, because I don't think Clave has actually seen all of these things, but I figure, knowing Kurt's game, a lot of the tomes that Clave has studied is very similar to the way that the monks would scribe them. So there's all these little pictures in the margins of different creatures. So that's what Clave is basing it on.
Right. Yeah, there are definitely bestiaries where they just draw creatures that they've heard of. So yeah, you guys are looking at like barracudas, but they have like arms with little hands on the end, little pincers, and 6 eyes.
That, there's a series, there's like a special series of Magic cards, by the way, where they have children draw the creature. They're just kind of told what it looks like, and then they draw it, and then they put it on the card. And then a professional, then you've probably seen it before, like somebody else do it. A professional then takes their drawing and then makes it more realistic.
That's awesome.
And then so those cards are also made.
I also like that initially he creates this underground dwelling with like aquarium walls, and then it just morphs into a giant lake over the top of you. So initially he does what Darius says, and then it just all begins to change.
But the best part is Zarius has no clue. Because it all just still looks like, no different, but now it's just real.
But you're able to get your rest in. Oh, how close to the river are you, I guess? Because I assume you're following the course of the river, since that's the easiest way to make it down there. I mean, at this point, you can see at the heights you were probably flying, you could definitely see the Sea of Glass off to the northwest. So you could also follow the curve of the Sea of Glass if you wanted to.
I mean, who's leading the way?
I mean, I just said follow the river, so
Okay, so
whoever got in front, roll for initiative.
I like the idea of following Aurelia wherever Aurelia went.
It's a bad idea.
That's why
Yeah,
I'm voting for it.
So then where does Aurelia take them? Do you stick to the river?
Yeah, I stick to the river.
Okay, so now there's this mile by mile space that's now like a small lake connected by this river.
So, and the place where people are sleeping is under the lake?
Yeah, so it's like there's a small, like in the middle of this vast lake, there's like a small little like platform with a hatch that goes down into it, and reaching all the way to the bottom of the lake is where this thing is anchored. Actually, it doesn't have to be. So it's just kind of submerged without any substructure like dictating where it is. And it's just kind of like,
this is why I asked about the river in particular, is that you do see as you're moving, ships are on the river. Actually, in the moonlight, yeah, you could probably still make out the forms of some ships moving along the river. You can't tell necessarily what these ships are. You would guess they're probably the Imperial ships carrying troops.
So yeah, so it would start out like this platform at the surface that we could climb down into. And once we climb down, then it kind of like it's, I imagine it's kind of shaped like a vase and from the outside, and just kind of sinks down a bit. And once we're ready to go back up, I will just use the magic to cause it to resurface. And all the walls are clear, so we could see all the fishies. And it's also strangely just bright enough around the lake that you can make out the fish. So the water has a slight glow to it.
Okay. As you rise up, you see the carcasses of all the fish the clawed barracuda have killed.
As they fade from existence because they're not.
They'll be here for 10 days. Imagine the existential crisis the barracuda are having, knowing they'll only be around for 10 days. All they could do is pinch fish. So you would see, given that this is connected to the river, some ships have moored themselves and there are people at the edges of this giant lake seem to be investigating it.
Cool.
So you take off again.
Yeah.
Somebody give me, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so guys, it looks like I might have gone a little overboard. I guess I was stretching my legs, mentally stretching my legs. I'll keep it toned down next time.
See that you do.
How often do the prayer beads recharge? Is it 24 hours? Or at dawn or what?
Right there. Yours does not say. Hold on. Until the next dawn.
So yeah, so technically, I mean, if you landed and like went to sleep at like 4 a.m. and spent 8 hours resting, you could leave like way earlier in the day of the next day, rather than like wait until nighttime again if you wanted. You could leave around noonish, basically, rather than at 8 p.m.
I was kind of liking the idea of traveling at night, just so that we would avoid the heat.
And you could do that too by just hanging out under the lake. Now I just have to imagine the whole party singing "Under the Sea" like for a whole day.
So what time is it?
Oh yeah, there probably would be some sexy mermaids swimming about.
Both kinds. The kind with the woman part on top and the kind with the fish part on top.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just like look, I'm like, how do these ones mate? This makes no sense.
So you want to leave at night then?
Yeah,
At least-
I think it's
At least pretty
it's
close tonight. Yeah, I think.
Probably
gonna
safest to just keep going at night.
Do you
Cast
wish
dark
to?
vision
during the
again?
day.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. I'll consistently be casting the dark vision spell.
Okay, and so nighttime comes around again, or at least sunset comes around. Around 8 o'clock at night, you cast it again. And someone roll me a d12. Okay, someone roll a d100. Or Zarius roll a d100.
Oh, so close.
So close to seeing both mermaids go at it.
This is what they mean.
As you're flying, you hear a deafening shriek as something you see like at the edge of your dark vision ahead of you, something just almost appears or seems to, because it comes into your field of vision and you really couldn't make it out before against the night sky. And it flies like directly through you, and you probably, most people wouldn't know this. Clave probably has never encountered one of these before, but Zarius and Aurelia sure have. It's a rock. It doesn't seem to be interested in you. It doesn't seem to have noticed you, but it flew right through you.
All right.
So, Clave, you see a bird with about a 250-foot wingspan.
I psychically go, Gah! And everybody hears it.
Including the rock.
What is that? What is that?
I don't know how to talk to you, so there's just like vague gestures of wing flapping from the mist.
So you however make it to the end of the spell again. It's about 4 in. So what's
Alright.
your second home going to look like?
This time. Clave is just kind of tired this time from all the flying. And so this time he'll just off of the river, create an entrance to an underground dwelling similar to one that he's made before, that doesn't have any kind of visual signs above ground, but underground is a labyrinth. But getting between levels you slide. So there's slides all the way down to the different levels. And to get up, there's like bouncy stairs.
What?
I've never heard of bouncy stairs. That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, I can't do those.
So for Zarius, there's an escalator.
Yeah, give me one of those seats that just like goes down the side of the stairs.
You would have noticed, by the way, the brightest of the moons is the silvery moon. Actually, it looks like a drop of silver in the sky. And it's pretty it's waxing pretty or waning rather pretty fast. So it was 3/4 full when you started, but it's a quarter full now. So the night is a lot darker.
Okay.
We're probably gonna have to take advantage of the night while we can. We might have to switch to traveling during the day.
So, but the next day comes. As you take off again, you couldn't see this at night, but ahead of you, southwest along the river, all from like one end of your field of vision to the other, all across the horizon, you could see what appears to be dark clouds. And you realize you haven't seen, other than a few very rare and occasional wispy white clouds, you have not seen clouds since you've been in the desert. And these look like giant cumulonimbus thunderstorm clouds. They're still a ways off. You know, you still have another probably days worth of travel before you get to them, or half a day's worth of travel.
So Clave would be openly questioning, does anybody know what that is?
Perhaps it's the giant's flying castle.
That's much more ominous than I had pictured.
What better way to disguise it than inside of a storm? They are cloud giants now, are they not?
Is there any way for us to estimate how far away that may be?
Everyone could
What-
make me an
Water
insight
sexton.
check.
Oh, what
And
kind of check?
Insight. I'll check for TL. He has really good insight, but not today.
Yeah.
I
I guess-
mean, you would gather, given how far along you are, it's probably just at or beyond Darmersha. So, and given the size of it going from, one end of your field of vision to the other, it's got to cover at least the leading front of the warmlands.
Zarius, is this typical weather for your land?
It can happen every once in a while.
Does it look like this when it does?
In the desert, if it rains, it is torrential.
Okay. Well, hopefully that's all it is, because it looks like it's just ahead by Darmersha. So if that is the Sky Castle, we may be coming upon a disaster.
Indeed.
So flying on, someone make me another D12 roll.
Lord Baelish, did you shit?
That's true. Imagine what that courtyard smells like.
Oh my God. This is awful, guys. Ugh.
One of our cats had a brief stint like that. That was real bad.
Brief stint. It's every goddamn time with her.
Take her to the vet.
No, this is normal for her. It's been like this her whole life. It just still sucks. Especially since she doesn't bury her shit,
Yeah.
just lingers right there at the top. in a semi-solid pool.
Use different litter.
Or a different diet. It's all asparagus for you from now on, Kat. So as you travel, you can see fairly high walls extending above you and large structures that look almost like giant, like dragon claws that are pointing up into the sky within this city. And Zarius, you would know this is just, it's part of the architecture of Darmersha.
Mhm.
The cloud cover doesn't actually reach over Darmersha itself, but you could see it gets pretty. Darmersha in front of it, between it and the Warmlands, has an enormous defensive wall that extends all the way from the Sea of Glass on the one side to several hundred miles into the desert on the other side of Darmersha. It was built a long time ago, back when Ilkaja and the Warmlands didn't have friendly relations. So was there essentially as a physical barrier to prevent attacks. And it more or less succeeded. And it's been a long time since the two nations were at war. But the wall itself is prodigious. It is about 90 feet tall and hundreds of miles wide. As I said, the cloud cover doesn't seem to extend all the way to the wall, but it extends most of the way. As near as you could tell from what you could see here, it seems as if all of the Warmlands has been strategically covered in these thick clouds. But that is some pretty fearsome magic to affect the weather on that great a scale.
T-Hole, is this one of your family's weapons?
I don't remember. Yeah, certainly there have been weather control magics used, but I don't remember it ever being used merely to create cloud cover. I'm not even sure I understand the point of it. Perhaps there are fierce storms inside. Although if the giants are collecting taxes from people here, I don't know that they want there to be bad weather all the time everywhere.
Is Darmersha, I forgot, is Darmersha controlled by the Giants currently?
No, it's part of Ilkaja. The giants haven't touched Ilkaja.
I mean,
Or Kajarim,
I mean, it would seem if the Giants have a sky castle, perhaps this cloud cover could protect the location of the armies beneath it.
Well, they did say they couldn't find the Sky Castle very easily, and so that's why they were trying to lure it out. Perhaps it just hides among the clouds.
Another possibility as well. This may be the work of the Giants.
Or the demons. So where are you going from here? You still have another probably 3 hours on the windwalk spell.
Do we think we can make it to Darmersha?
Oh, you can definitely make it to Darmersha. I'm assuming you're essentially right over it. Is that where you're landing?
We're well ahead of the fleet, right?
So the fleet left, like a day before you, but you're still probably ahead of them. It would take them time to sail upriver. They may get, waylaid checking out this giant lake that people say has disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
So what are you looking for in Darmersha?
What did we have left? I forget what we needed. There was.
I don't quite remember what we were doing with Darmersha.
So T-hole.
Well, we
T-hole
could
thought
like
that-
gather more intel here on what's going on inside
Right.
the country. Presumably, there are some refugees that would have a better idea.
Right.
More direct
T-hole wanted to
interaction.
gather information here, both on like what the Giants have been doing, but this is also kind of like the main hub the Empire's been using. Before they deploy troops into the Warm Lands itself, they all basically have to pass here anyway. So if you wanted to figure out where Turbo is, and she's in charge of them,
Yep. Yeah, I think that would be what Clave would want to do. Is to try and investigate, see if he can locate Turbo's whereabouts and more about whether she's truly like if there's any other motives that she has or goals that she has aside from what we've already been able to ascertain.
okay. So this particular city, probably not as wealthy as Il Kajah, and definitely laid out in a somewhat less paranoid way. There aren't like solid walls between different districts. There does seem to be the side of the city that is furthest away from the Sea of Glass seems to probably be the poorest part of the city. And it almost seems as if the further you get away from the Sea of Glass, the poorer the district gets. So most of the affluent side of the city is on the side closest to the Sea of Glass. Are you looking for something in particular, or just picking a random spot to land, or what? Or flying around in cloud form looking for Dragonborn or Imperials?
If we have 3 hours of Windwalk still, Clave might telepathically suggest that we just kind of do a couple laps around the city just to kind of see what we can see, since we're not easily observed in our cloud form.
I can't talk back, so I don't know.
Well, so Clay, after the first time where you didn't know what to do, Clave would have, after we had touched down, after seeing the rock, Clave would have said, just concentrate and think a response back to me when you want to respond.
I like to think you'll get like an old man response. Like you'll hear, is this thing on? How does this thing work? I don't understand. And then it just cuts off.
Yup. But Clay would say, you can't just think at me. I have to say something to you and you need to respond.
I think back in all caps.
At least it's not like the mix of caps and lowercase.
Big back in all caps. Red.
Red. Who is this?
So yeah, so that might be what Clay would suggest, because we do appear as like clouds that people can see, so it would be kind of weird, right, Kurt?
Right. People will definitely, if you get, within 100 feet of them and they have a clear line of sight, people would see that there's like smoke drifting, not in a natural way at ungodly speeds. They generally wouldn't have time to react before you were gone, but if somebody had like a crossbow readied, maybe they could take a shot.
I mean, if there's any concern about the giants, then people may be looking to the skies and paying more attention to that kind of thing. But yeah, so that Clay would suggest just doing a search around the city and trying to get a better lay of the land. And would invite Zarius, Aurelia, and T-Hole to respond telepathically.
I'm sure T-Hole would be fine with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So going around the city, the walls are pretty heavily manned with local troops. You don't necessarily see an imperial presence in the city, not at the scale you might have expected. There are occasional groups of soldiers in the streets, and fairly large caravans of troops that seem to be buying and hauling supplies out of the city. But it doesn't seem as though they have it's not exactly as if they're garrisoning whole forces here. So you're not sure wherever they're taking the supplies is probably where they're garrisoning people. The area around Darmersha is unusually green. It is in the fork between two rivers. And so the land here is much more fertile than you would normally expect from desert regions. So there's probably plenty of places where there could be set up fairly well provisioned campsites with access to water from the rivers. You do find there is, similar to what you saw in Ilkaja, there does seem to be a collection of Dragonborn that are mostly kept into a single area, although the Dragonborn are a little bit more dispersed here than they were in Ilkaja. You do see them in other parts of the city. Probably, you would guess, like rough estimate, there could be something between 10 and 30,000 Dragonborn in this city. And that's out of about 100,000 people total in the city. So it's a fair chunk of the population at the moment. Zarius, you would know that's almost unheard of. Normally they would have 1,000 tops over the whole city. So it's 10 to 30 times as much. As a result, the city is jam-packed and crowded, and you could definitely see the impact of that. Things are looking a bit run down, and the people seem to be a fair bit weary. Except, of course, they're in the more affluent areas. They do seem to be doing a little better. Their Dragonborn are much less common to see, although there are one or two here and there that seem to have bought their way into the better class of company. You don't see you probably see the most Imperials in the market area. You see fewer Imperials in the residential areas. And in the temple districts, there are almost none in the temple districts. The temples all appear to be to the four gods, the great churches. Which isn't uncommon for Khazarim.
All right. And just to get a better understanding of the city's layout, would Clave assume that the affluent areas are closer to the Sea of Glass because it's better defended because of the natural terrain, or because of the trade with the gnomes and their skiffs?
Make me an insight check. You become aware, especially flying around, that if anything, the side closest to the Sea of Glass is probably harder to defend than the side that's further away from it, as that defensive wall extends a very long way on the far side of the city, whereas it only extends a little way into the Sea of Glass itself. So anybody who's trying to get here, it would be the easier way might be, as far as you know, to try to go around the short end of the wall, around through the sea of glass to attack, if they were coming at least from the warmlands. So it's probably more to do with trade. It's also, I mean, some of the buildings on this side are much higher even than the walls around the city. So the views of the Sea of Glass are probably pretty stunning at times.
Okay. So Clave would telepathically suggest trying to find somewhere inconspicuous to land, perhaps around the market.
Let us find someplace.
So you are able to eventually, it takes some time given how crowded it is. The marketplace itself isn't anywhere near the affluent district. There are several marketplaces, but none of them are super close to the affluent part of the city. So they're all kind of in the more crowded part. But you do find an alleyway that seems as though there's nobody watching it or nearby, in the midst of a cluster of houses, and transform back.
All right. The moment that we transformed, I would cast seeming. And I'd have Zarius and Aurelia adopt their previous personas that they had created. So Mirex and Elsa and Beehole. And Clave would appear as Ayana Reef.
And about just, half a second after that spell is cast and your illusory forms are covering yourselves, people stumble even into this little spot as they try to make their way to wherever it is they're going, avoiding as much as they can the crowds. But they pass on, paying no mind to any of you.
So once they pass, Clave lets out a long-held breath. Whew, that was close. So what is it that you would suggest, Zarius or Mirex and Elsa? I think it would be helpful to see about Turbo and get more information about her, but of course we also need to learn more of the plight here, the conflict. So what should you suggest?
I just have a feeling that Turbo's here. She'll probably find us first. She has a way of locating Beehole.
And hopefully my magic will at least confuse her somewhat if she is able to track him. But Zarius, once again, this is your place. These are your lands, or at least close enough. What might you suggest in order to maximize our ability to gather information?
We're likely to get information on the conflicts more readily. We can perhaps even learn things while we search for information on Turbo.
Shall we find your kin and speak with them first.
If it is along the way, I forget where we landed.
You
One of the
picked
markets.
a marketplace. So it's not super close to where the bulk of them are, but like I said,
Right.
they're integrated throughout the city for the most part.
And then, didn't you say that the
Is Mirex-
Imperials were here?
Is Mirex a Dragonborn or
Yeah,
Ismaili?
he would have been Dragonborn. That's a Dragonborn name.
Okay.
You non-Dragonborn with your names are all fucking weird. Like they don't make any sense at all.
I thought maybe that was in character where he was like, wait, are you a Dragonborn? I don't see race. So who are you looking for? What's the sort of person do you want to approach? Or do you want to just, are you generally searching for information?
I guess, didn't you say that the Imperials were, where were they more heavily located?
In the market.
Where we
Right. So
are,
there are several markets, but every
Oh.
market seems to have it's like a normal city. There's a lot of different places to buy things, but every market seems as though there are at least a couple Imperials milling about, probably buying supplies for the caravans you saw leaving the city. So
Perhaps
you definitely could find some in the marketplace.
it might also be worth finding a place to call our home base while we are here. Because we will need to determine how we would approach any interaction with Turbo.
And if we need a home base, I can cast Mirage Arcana. It has a wide area, but I don't need to affect the entirety of that area. I could refine it to just a section of alley, perhaps, and create an underground passage to a larger dwelling, assuming that there are no major sewer networks or underground structures. Though, of course, without more information about this place, I would be guessing, and it could be somewhat disruptive.
Well, if we're here, we might be able to more easily gather information on Turbo and in the markets, since that's where we landed.
It may be best for us to just use our aliases to find an inn, much as we were in where we were previously.
I was looking around. Normally, you could just kind of spot some inns. There's none in this area.
So right now you're just in the midst of a cluster of houses. They appear to be
Right.
normal dwelling places. There are certainly going to be inns off of the market, or at least like an inn. I mean, you can tell me, I guess. I didn't think about how close to the gates you were. The closer you are to the gates of the city, the more likely there is to be an inn. So if you were looking to find a spot where you could find an inn, then you definitely could find one in proximity to some of the markets.
I mean, otherwise, would ask somebody, Where is a moderately priced inn?
So yeah, as you're walking through the different rows of stalls that are set up in this open square marketplace, someone points over to a building off to the side and says, very good, I hear. Very, very reasonably priced. Good food, not the normal, rat parts mixed in with stew you get in some places.
Excellent. That sounds exactly like my palate.
Sorry, it's like, thanks. Like, I mean, you could get some sustenance out of that. Just like, what's so wrong about the rat tails? Like, what?
Right.
Entrails, I believe he said.
I heard rat trails. Okay, rat tails is what I heard. Yeah.
You do notice as you're, passing through, just a number of people are yelling in that local language, Sinaj. So you don't necessarily know what they're saying. Teal probably does. But you can definitely see from what's in common, prices here clearly have gone up. Either that or this is the most expensive place you've ever seen, because everything's about twice as expensive as you would have expected.
Finding it in may be difficult.
What makes you say that?
If the city is crowded, many of the rooms might already be taken. Perhaps now is the time that we can make money.
What would we do to make money?
We find an empty space and you create an inn. And we just retire here.
Yes, I spell once every 10 days.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah.
Just call it the self-serve in, since I doubt any of you will be doing manual labor to keep the guests happy.
like Clave could literally change a room for anybody.
Right, but I'm still limited to the space. The Mirage Arcane does not create extra dimensional spaces. Otherwise, it would be no problem for me to cast it right now. This isn't Mordenkainen's mansion.
This is why I mentioned finding an empty space.
That may attract undue attention. People will be like, why is there that building that was was a road before, or an alley is suddenly gone? I don't recall any construction. People will question it.
All right, so every night you change the thing so it looks like it's being constructed. And then by day 3, it's a fully finished building, and people are like, boy, that building went up fast. It's like 90 floors of rooms.
I saw no workers the whole time.
Oh, I did. There was plenty.
Well, let's see what's available before we start making any rash decisions. Perhaps there's a mead feed deed.
I'd rather not.
Or a feed mead deed. Why would you think there is not?
I said I would rather not.
Oh. What's wrong with the feed me deed?
Do not like telling stories.
The stories don't have to be true. They just have to win the crowd.
Sarius does not have that kind of imagination to just make up a story.
Well, perhaps you can claim to be a mute and do an interpretational dance.
Yes, that sounds more like limping Zarius' style.
Zarius ponders.
As you make your way over in the direction of the inn the guy pointed at, you do see off to the side there are two Imperial soldiers, one of which has a blue crest on the top of his helmet. Seems to be arguing with one of the people in the stall. He's speaking in the local language, Sinaj. He's doing it with a fairly thick northern urban accent, though. And then he turns to his friend and says something in High Imperial. I don't know if any of you speak that, though.
I think T-Hole does.
T-Hole definitely does. T-Hole speaks every language.
There's that.
I
So
speak High Imperial, but also I would telepathically ask T-Hole, what are they saying?
So, I mean, he has turned to his fellow to say, this guy's prices are actually pretty good, but I'm pretty sure we're going to still argue him down because we're buying in bulk. So just don't say anything. I'm going to continue to fight this out. We can't afford to spend all of our coin here, and we got other things we got to find. And he then turns back to the merchant and is like shaking his hands in an exasperated fashion. And Teal confirms he seems to be haggling over a shipment of what it's called suddenly. Avocados, I guess.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say dynamite.
No, it's he's trying to find fruit, basically.
Plutonium.
So they're just trying to feed their soldiers more supplies for the barracks or for the excursions. So the guy that he's haggling with, he's haggling the shop, or not the shop, the inn keep, or
No, he is arguing with a guy in a stall still in the market. You were making your way towards the inn.
I see. Okay.
But making your way to the inn, you can see it's pretty full, at least of people who are drinking.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, when you walk through the door, a woman comes up to you. She is, her head is uncovered. She's in, fairly light clothing, given that it's super, super hot. She comes up and says, "Would you like a table? Are you here to sit at the bar? You may find your own seat at the bar if you wish. A table may take some time."
Actually, we were here to see if there may be any rooms available.
Oh, rooms. Yes, there are plenty of rooms. Not many travelers, mostly people looking for food and drink.
Excellent. Wait, is there anything wrong with the accommodations that we should be aware of, that people are not seeking to stay here?
Well, Havaz owns this inn, and he is not providing free room and board to the Dragonborn. So most of them cannot afford to stay here. There are a few Dragonborn who stay here, but otherwise we are so close to the Warmlands that, well, travel has fallen off. Even the halflings have to travel around 4 miles to avoid the storms. So we don't get quite the traffic we used to, at least not for people looking for rooms. but the food shortages have more than made up for it in food sales. Talk to Havaz if you need a room. He is currently behind the bar.
Thank you. And Clay would make his way over to Havaz.
So from the far end of the bar, he eventually makes his way down to you. Yes, can I help you?
I am looking for Havaz.
I am Havaz.
Havaz, me and my companions are looking for accommodations, rooms. One would do, two would probably be better.
Two for the four of you.
Yes.
That should be no problem. There are 2 floors of rooms. Which would you prefer to be on the second floor or the third?
Clay would look to Mirex and Elsa.
Two, closer to the exit in case of a fire.
Yes, and my friend has trouble with stairs, so 2 would probably be best.
Very good. He reaches under the bar and you see he pulls out a box and goes through. And he pulls out a key. There's nothing remarkable about the key. You imagine it's a box of keys, but it's not labeled or anything like that. And he hands you the key and says the one key. It says, you can take rooms 7 and 8 on the second floor.
Are we not going to speak of cost?
Oh, we would, most of the rooms here, everyone knows the cost. Forgive me. It will be 1 gold a night per room.
Clay would look to T-Hole, who holds the purse.
Holds the purse. Means he has his money and everyone spends it. I suppose. Is there not a second key for the second room? And
Yes.
Havaz says, no, 1 key.
What
1 key to unlock them all.
do all of your rooms have the same key?
Yes, one key.
Very well. Thank you. And Clay will telepathically say, we'll just make our own accommodations. Are the rooms next to each other?
Yes, 7 and 8. Right, one next to the other.
Excellent. So Clave would lead everybody to the rooms, and the minute the door was closed, would be he'd go into room 7. The minute the door is closed, he's beginning to cast Mirage Arcane to and keeping the area limited to the area of the 2 rooms, and removing the wall and in creating so that the inside of the room, the walls are iron. I know that spell isn't iron, but it still would hopefully be better reinforced than the whatever material the walls are made of, as well as heavy stones that Clave can instantly put over the doors, and making the accommodations much more comfortable, especially for Zarius to have his napping chair.
I need to nap now. I can sleep. If it's in the chair, so what?
Teal will turn to you and request that you make an enormous hot bathtub
Yeah, sure, whatever. And Clave would wave his hand, and a bathtub with dragon claw feet made of like ivory would appear, and one of those it looks like the spoutless fountain pouring
In a flash,
water into
T-hole is naked.
Yes,
And
he
in the,
is.
even though it is like 90 degrees in here, into the hot tub.
And can you make two beautiful ladies on either side fanning me?
So
You reinforce the room. I mean, it is clear now. Somebody would have to basically chop through to get into the room. So not a problem with people sneaking in.
all right, so Zarius, does this meet? Oh, sorry, Clave keeps his accent even whenever he's in form. So, Zarius, does this meet your? Hey, you fucking cat!
This is in character.
Yes, because cats have followed you once again. Zarius, you would notice like there's now like heavy stones blocking the door. The walls are made of metal. There's an ivory bathtub filled with water, and you do detect a faint creaking sound, as if maybe the walls and floors weren't really made for quite this much weight. So the room is settling.
All right.
Would Clave notice this at all?
No, it's not. It's not going to collapse imminently.
Okay, good. Imminently being the key.
Yeah,
right
not yet.
um,
Are there windows to the outside, or are they like the other place?
The windows are definitely extra small. There are windows. Actually, only 8 has a window, and it's like a little 6x6 square that points outside. It seems to be it has 2 of those, mostly for ventilation. 7 is more interior, so it doesn't even have that for ventilation.
So I would alter the one window that we have so that it had a grate that could easily slide over it in case we needed to make sure we need to bar entry from there. Even though it sounds like it's pretty small, but still.
Mm. Right. And Zarius, you would know this. The windows are pretty. The walls are pretty thick around the windows, and they're just small because frequently there are sandstorms, and you don't want to have like a giant open window in that case.
Right. No, let's just focus it all into one central location.
Well, I mean, sand could still make it in through this thing, but it's like 2 feet thick.
Yeah.
So it does block out at least the sand.
Right. I just pick a spot and sit.
Yeah, the room perhaps surprisingly wasn't certainly wasn't richly furnished or anything, but both rooms had 2 beds in them and a small desk and chair. Like they were functional.
Mm-hmm. But now it's one big room,
right?
With
more opulent furniture.
Yes. So this should meet our needs for the time being while we're here in the city. So what shall be our next step? Zarius, you had suggested that we speak with the Dragonborn of the conflict.
Yes, to see if there's any more information that hadn't reached where we were. You never know if we could learn something actionable.
All
As
right,
Teal lays back in the tub, his legs draped over both sides of the tub, give room for his junk. He says, well, they did say there are Dragonborn staying up here somewhere, so perhaps we could just either knock on doors or wait for them to come out. Unless you want to schlep all the way over to the poor part of town.
well, let's speak with Havas. Maybe he would be willing to let us know where any Dragonborn may be renting, and then we could speak with them.
What time of day is it?
It is actually probably like 6 p.m.
Of course. Zarya sat down. He's starting to doze.
Right. Well, in that case, Zarius, you nap. I'm going to speak with Havas.
Hmm.
Aurelia, will you accompany me?
Okay.
Excellent. So, Clave would wave a hand, and the stone blocking one of the doors would move. And then he would open the door. And being careful not to forget that people are still in the room and not causing the stone to move back, blocking Zarius and T-Hole from leaving.
You do that and make your way back.
I don't think we're going anywhere.
So, I'd go down to Vas, and I would call him over. First, I would ask for a drink.
Very good. What would you like?
Something simple. Any kind of beer or ale.
And he goes off and opens the tap from one of the casks behind him and brings it over. And for your friend.
Elsa, would you like a drink?
I guess. Sounds good.
You want the same. You want ale.
Yeah.
So he goes over, takes a glass, pours another ale and brings it back.
So, Habas, I'm curious. Me and my friends, we are travelers, as you're aware. I'm sure you've heard many stories as a shopkeeper about the things that are going on beyond the walls.
Lots of stories. Hard to say what's true. 2
What do you
gold
believe
for
to
the
be true?
beers.
2 gold for the beers.
This is a time of great trouble in the city. The cost of food and drink has gone up quite a bit.
Don't worry, T-Hole's got this. Put it on his tab.
I do not do tab.
Clave will hand over 2 of his 5 gold pieces. And say, well, Havas, what do you believe to be true of the stories? What is it that's happening?
I will be honest. My mind is not so much on what goes on in the Dragonborn lands. Yes, there is some sort of evil magic afoot. The storms are clear enough proof of that. Are there giants? I have heard stories of giants attacking the walls, but none of them have made it through. Their attacks seem to be almost nuisances. So why attack? Why bother? I don't know. The
And what
Imperials arrive and begin to swarm the city, only to be told to get out because, first of all, they are the cause of the food and drink shortage. They are the reason prices are so high. The war probably chased away most of the travelers and the businessmen who used to regularly trade here. I'll grant that that is probably not the Imperials' fault, but it did get worse when they came. I suspect coincidence, but you never know. Maybe they are purposefully stopping travelers coming across the sea of glass. It is hard to say.
So the Imperials, they're packing up.
They are staying outside the city, at least. They buy goods here in the city. The rulers refuse to stop them from trading here. Their coin is good. I will be honest, in my business, you would think I am making money hand over fist, but I have to pay more for the food I bring in. Food spoils very quickly in the desert, so as I'm sure you know. So everything I buy is more expensive. I am making less money now than I was before. Fewer travelers, more expensive food.
It sounds like quite a poor time to be in business.
Yes, and everyone thinks that I am making piles of gold out of all this because they have to pay me. Because they are unaware I have to pay other people.
Well, I am sorry that times have come so hard and that you are somewhat of the face of the, I guess, assumed greed. But
And it will only get worse. Eventually, all of the money that the rulers are spending to help the Imperials is going to have to be made up in taxes. And who will they tax? They may tax the wealthier people a bit, but most of it will come from people like me.
so the royals, they're supporting the Imperials, even though they have asked them to leave the city.
They've asked them to leave the city only because there are just too many of them here. But the rumor is that the decree has come down from the Kaja family that they must support the Imperials, at least in terms of letting them trade here. But the local rulers, some of whom have Kaja blood in them, don't always do as they are told. And as this gets more and more expensive, I expect there to be more and more pushback.
And the Imperials, if they are not in the city proper, are they still within the city's walls?
Some of them are. It depends. I would gather there are a few thousand of them within the walls of the city. Most of them, they have various camps scattered around the city between the two rivers. Some of them, they say, are at a very large camp just off the Sea of Glass. I don't know exactly where all of their camps are, but they are carting food out at an amazing rate. You barely is there an hour of daylight when there are not Imperial carts leaving the city with our food.
It is truly a hard time to be a resident of this city.
So what do you trade? What brings you into the city?
Oh, I suppose you could call me an adventurer. Just seeking fame and fortune as most adventurers do. Um, are there any Dragonborn staying here in your rooms?
Now, with your passive insight, he didn't actually roll his eyes, but when you said you're an adventurer, you could feel his inner eyes rolling.
Okay.
Yeah, there are 4 Dragonborn who are staying here, not counting your friend, of course.
I'm sorry, Habas. Perhaps it is a trick of the light, but I noticed that there was a slight reaction to my chosen profession. Do you have issue with adventuring?
Um, I think it probably best that I not share my opinions of adventurers. I have had. It's probably best. I wish you no ill will at all, but I do not have a good experience with people of your profession, if a profession you call it.
Well, at least allow me insight into what I should avoid to prevent any potential disrespect or ill will.
I would, to some extent, my opinions are my own. They are not shared by everyone, but in my experience, adventurers spend most of their time robbing tombs. And robbing tombs comes with it the risk of curses. And adventurers then come into a city while cursed and stay in the rooms of hapless innkeepers and bringing their curse with them. And the next thing you know, I have to fight off mummies.
You have fought mummies.
Yes, or some sort of similar undead. I understand that in your line of business, every individual type of thing must have its own name. But for me, I don't know, mummy or ghoul or zombie or what you call them.
Well, Habas, your concerns are well, uh, well deserved. Uh, but I assure you, neither me nor my companions have any curses that we will bring upon your fine inn.
I hope that is true. I would not turn away business simply because of my aversion, but many people have a bit of distaste for those who rob tombs. You should probably be careful before you share that about yourself. I
That
understand
is,
it can be lucrative, it can be dangerous work. You might find items that were lost long ago, not lost, but buried long ago. And there is money to be had in bringing those to people who can afford such otherwise useless items that the world obviously did without for thousands of years. But you bring a lot of problems with you when you engage in that sort of thing, including I think the disfavor of the gods.
well, Habas, I will not keep you any longer. I appreciate your hospitality, and also curious. Does your inn have any sort of cleaning staff that might try to come into our rooms during the day when we may not be using them, or anything that we should be aware of in terms of any staff that might come and go?
At some point, my wife or I will come to fix up the room, usually after you have left. We will come to inspect, make sure no one is breaking up furniture or no mummies, that sort of thing.
Might I ask that during our stay that you and your wife refrain from coming into our room?
Why would you? Well, make me a persuasion check.
Okay. Oof.
Why would you ask this?
Well,
All I want to do is make sure that the room is intact.
well, Havas, while we appreciate your hospitality, me and my companions they're concerned about the security of the rooms. I mean, they all have the same key, and we as adventurers we do trade with items of some value. No, none that have been procured from any tombs or robbed from any graves, I assure you. But still, we have concerns, and it would just make our stay give us much more peace of mind if we knew that only myself and my companions were coming and going.
Are these the sort of things that are tied to the outer darkness?
No, nothing of the sort. I'm sorry, but I answered before I really realized what you mean by outer darkness.
Evil, the sorts of things that live in the shadows.
No, nothing so uh, taboo or nothing such so profane as that. No,
Yeah, so I would just say, again, passive insight. You don't know what exactly, but yeah, there was something going on there. He's not sharing.
Mhm.
Both when he mentioned outer darkness and when he defined it as, just evil things.
Okay. Has Clave ever heard that term, the outer darkness?
Yeah, I mean, it's not super common, but people, at least mages in general are aware that there is there's actually two meanings to it. One is the religious meaning to it, and the other one is just it's an alternate name for the void.
Mhm.
So it's sort of a not plainer knowledge.
I wonder if Aurelia reacted when he said that then.
That's true. Aurelia has heard the void called the outer darkness, but she didn't necessarily pick up on him being weird about using the term.
Okay.
Well, Habas, as I said, me and my companions appreciate your hospitality. We would also very much appreciate your discretion in maintaining our privacy. And if it is required, we are willing to provide extra payment for such security.
Well, I will promise you this. I will only come to inspect the room when you are there.
That would be ideal. If you must inspect the room while we are there, would be best. I'm sorry, rooms.
So I or my wife will probably be there tomorrow morning. Just make sure someone is there to, watch over whatever valuables it is you have.
And please knock when you come.
Of
I have
course.
a friend who is oftentimes disrobed. I wouldn't want to expose you or your wife to such indecencies.
Yes, I would not want my wife to see one of your
Mm.
friends. Unless it's a dragonborn, then nothing to see.
This one is not the dragonborn.
The other one. Yes, I would not want my wife to see the personal things of another man.
Yeah, talk about utter darkness.
All right. Well, thank you, Habas.
And when Aurelia says that, he looks over at her and says, "Yes, indeed. You don't deal with things from the outer darkness, do you?"
Oh no. Only the four churches, if I have to.
You have a problem with the four churches?
No. If I have to deal with anything, it's the four churches. Nothing outside that.
We will Stop by tomorrow morning. Do you want another beer?
No, I have had my fill, thank you.
And someone at the other end of the bar has been like waving their hand for like this whole time. So he goes off to tend to him.
So Clave will turn to Aurelia. So Aurelia, what are your Elsa? We should remain in character. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I think Elsa should get an alias so that you can be in character, in character, in character.
Yeah. As far as what?
Just the sense that you get from Havas, what he described with the Imperials.
I don't know. They're here and they're causing food shortages. He's losing money. And I'm sure eventually they're going to they're not going to be welcome. Usually this turns to some sort of violence.
Yes, you may be right. It probably is best if we move on from the city as soon as we are able. Let's see if we can speak with any of these Dragonborn that are staying here.
So you don't see any, at least in the bar area.
Did Havas say what rooms they were staying in? The Dragonborn?
He did not. He just said that there were 4 of them. But you have the key to their room.
Yeah.
You got the key to all the rooms.
So that's where we can wrap it up for the night.
Okay.
Because I'm starting to pass out.